The seahorse. Most people picture seahorse pregnancy as a cute biological metaphor. It's the most literal pregnancy outside a mammal. He doesn't just hold eggs, he grows an organ that didn't exist before he met her. Pregnancy is biology's most expensive purchase, and in some species, it's not the mom who picks up the bill. The female deposits her eggs into his brood pouch through a dedicated tube. He fertilizes them inside, and the pouch tissue thins out and floods with blood vessels until it's functioning as a placenta. Same job as ours, completely different tissue origin. It supplies oxygen, removes waste, regulates salinity, feeds nutrients, and protects the embryos immunologically. The whole process runs on male hormones, not the female reproductive ones we'd expect. Evolution's HR department had a really bad year, and the seahorse is the memo. One pouch, up to 1,000 fry, 2 weeks of gestation, delivered in pulsing contractions until the pouch is empty. Turns out seahorse pregnancy isn't a metaphor, it's a literal placental pregnancy, built from completely different tissue, but doing exactly the same job as ours. At no point does mom even get the baby photos. He's the only animal on Earth where the male has a working placenta. The only true male pregnancy in the entire vertebrate world, built from scratch. The giant water bug. This bug lives in ponds across North and South America. Right now, somewhere within an hour of most viewers, a dad is doing push-ups underwater to keep his children alive. She glues them on, then she leaves. He can't see them, he can't reach them, and he has to figure out how to breathe for both of them. After mating, the female cements her eggs onto his back in batches, and one clutch can cover most of his dorsal surface, somewhere between 100 and 150 eggs. He carries them for 6 to 12 days, surfacing periodically so the eggs can pull oxygen from the air. When he's submerged, certain species do underwater push-ups to stir water across the eggs and aerate them. He is wearing his children, and he's still hunting fish, frogs, and small turtles like everything's fine. Submerged eggs need oxygen, and these eggs evolved to be too big to absorb enough through water alone. So dad-back access to the surface became mandatory for the species to exist at all. His back is a hand-sized rectangle. The eggs cover almost all of it. He's wearing roughly the surface area of his own torso in unborn children. Eggs that aren't on a male back virtually never hatch, and dads can deliberately abort eggs that aren't developing properly. She lays, she leaves. He carries everyone. If you thought your dad worked hard, at least he was allowed to sit down. She dropped the kids off, no forwarding address. The Emperor Penguin. Of every parent on this list, this one is the closest most viewers have already seen, but the actual numbers are worse than the documentary made them look. After the female lays the egg, the moment she hands it off is also the moment he stops eating, and he won't eat again for almost 4 months. She walks more than 50 miles to feed at sea, while he balances the egg on his feet, tucked under a feathered brood patch for 65 days. The total fast, courtship through hatching, averages 115 days. Males huddle in massive shifting groups for shared body heat, in winds that can exceed 100 miles an hour. Most of us can't fast through a Tuesday. He loses up to half his body weight before the female returns, and if she's late, he keeps the chick alive on a single secreted crop milk for as long as he physically can. 65 days incubating, 115 days total without food, in temperatures that hit -76, standing the whole time. It's not that the female abandons the egg. Turns out the only parent with enough body fat to survive a 115-day fast is the one who didn't just lay one. He doesn't eat, he doesn't move. He does the math. If he fails, his only child of the year freezes in seconds. Science is still mapping how a featherless embryo doesn't freeze in 17 seconds when it shouldn't survive 12. If you're enjoying learning about creatures like this, I post new animal content regularly. Subscribing really helps. Thanks. The Midwife Toad. This isn't a metaphor. The species is named after the human profession because of what the dad does. He's the midwife of his own clutch. After courtship, she lays. He fertilizes. Then he reaches back and does something no other amphibian dad in Europe does. He wraps strings of fertilized eggs around his hind legs, up to 150 per clutch, and walks around with them for 3 to 6 weeks. He hops, he hunts, he hides from predators, all of it with the next generation strapped to his thighs like wet rubber bands. He's a toad with leg warmers made of his own children. He's the length of your thumb, carrying up to 150 eggs, and the human equivalent is clipping 150 grapes to your ankles and going to work for 6 weeks. The bill keeps ratcheting up. First calories, then mobility, then weeks of dragging the next generation around. By keeping the clutch on his body, he becomes a mobile, climate-controlling incubator that walks the eggs to whichever microhabitat is wettest right now. Evolution looked at the calendar, looked at the ponds, and said, "You bring the nursery." When the tadpoles are ready, he wades into shallow water and lets them swim off. He doesn't carry his babies. He is their first nursery, a 4-legged, hopping, climate-controlled walking pond. The Leafy Seadragon. Imagine the most beautiful fish you've ever seen, and then imagine evolution decided that fish should also be the brood chamber. Females don't have a pouch. Males don't have a pouch. Yet somehow, the eggs make it to term. The male grows what marine biologists call a brood patch on the underside of his tail, a textured strip of skin laced with blood vessels. The female deposits about 250 ruby red eggs onto that patch in a single transfer, and the eggs adhere directly to skin. Brooding lasts roughly 9 weeks. Gas and waste exchange happens through the contact zone, and then the babies wriggle off into open water and never see him again. Marine biologists call it a brood patch, which is scientific for evolution gave him a sticker that holds children. Despite the name Leafy Seadragon, those frilly leaves aren't seaweed, they're skin. He's a fish disguised as kelp doing the most exposed thing imaginable, wearing a glowing red strip of fertilized eggs across his belly, through some of the most predator-rich waters on the southern coast. Pouchless brooding is the ancestral state in this family, and the Leafy Seadragon is one of the closest living glimpses of how seahorse pregnancy actually started. Eggs glued to skin, slowly recruiting blood vessels, with full pouch enclosure evolving later. The kids hatch, swim away, and his entire role is finished. Kelp-shaped doorman, dismissed. Did he know they were his? Science still can't say. Either way, evolution doesn't care which sex carries the load, only that someone does. The jawfish. Most parenting in the ocean is a numbers game. Lay millions, lose millions. This dad chose the opposite strategy. Hold what you've got and don't open your mouth. He builds a vertical burrow in the sand and lives in it. After mating, he disappears into the hole with something that wasn't there before. He takes the fertilized egg cluster into his mouth immediately after spawning, then starts cycling them, partially spitting them out and sucking them back in every few minutes to oxygenate them. Mouth brooding goes for 8 to 10 days, and he can't feed during any of it. His stomach is literally occupied. Imagine carrying your entire family in your cheeks until they turn into people. A pile of eggs on the sand in a reef is a buffet for everything that swims. By keeping the eggs inside the most defensible space he has, his own mouth, he trades a week of starvation for a hatch rate that crushes any external nest. Most people assume mouth brooders are eating their eggs. Turns out he's the opposite of eating them. Periodically, he spits them out and slurps them back in, like the world's most stressful gargle. 10 days, no food, no swallowing. He just sits in the sand, mouth full, watching the rest of the reef eat. Single dad of the year. No applause. The Hardhead Catfish. Most fish dads who help with eggs do it for days. This one does it for weeks. Then more weeks. Then he starts losing his shape. His eggs aren't normal fish eggs. They're the size of large marbles, among the biggest eggs of any North American coastal fish. And they go in only one place, The male takes about 50 fertilized, marble-sized eggs into his mouth after spawning, holds them through roughly 30 days of incubation, then continues holding the yolk sac larva for another 2 to 4 weeks. Total oral incubation runs 8 to 11 weeks. He barely feeds, if at all, and undeveloped, non-viable eggs are believed to be reabsorbed for nutrition. Reduced feeding is biologist for he ate his own non-viable eggs to not die. Estuarine waters are murky and predator dense, and producing fewer, larger, longer protected offspring beats producing millions of unprotected ones. The only safe room is Dad's mouth, and Dad pays in fat reserves. 2 months of his life, paid in body weight, paid in hunger, paid in hours. The bill keeps compounding. 60 days, no food, marble-sized eggs in his throat. By the time the larvae swim out, he's a quarter lighter than the day he started. Evolution looked at 2 months of starvation as a parenting strategy and said, approved. By the time the kids leave home, Dad has lost a quarter of his body weight. They never look back. The cassowary. Cassowaries have a reputation as the most dangerous bird in the world. Most viewers don't realize that reputation comes from one specific situation: a dad protecting his chicks. After mating, the female lays a clutch of olive green eggs and immediately leaves the territory, sometimes to mate with another male. Dad never sees her again. He incubates 3 to 5 eggs for around 50 days, rarely leaves the nest, and barely eats. After hatching, he raises the striped chicks alone for 9 months, defending the territory with claws that reach 4 inches long. Imagine a parenting magazine cover with a 6-foot bird, a velociraptor toe, and 3 striped melon children. Rainforest fruit availability is patchy, and a female cassowary's reproductive throughput is highest when she lays multiple clutches with multiple males per season. The math only works if dads are reliable solo parents, so evolution made dads reliable solo parents. Most people picture cassowaries as random aggressive killers. Turns out, almost every documented attack is a dad protecting chicks within sight. Every parent at a kid's birthday party is 10% cassowary on the inside. 9 months, 1 dad, velociraptor feet. The most dangerous solo parent in the bird world. And that's not a joke, that's a stat. In nature, parental roles aren't fixed. They're whatever survives the next generation. The Three-Spined Stickleback. This fish is the size of a pinky finger. Its parental architecture is more complex than that of most mammals. Before he can court a female, he has to build the nursery, and the materials don't come from outside, they come from inside him. He turns bright red, builds a tunnel-shaped nest from plant fragments, and the glue holding it together is a protein called spigin, secreted by his kidneys specifically during breeding season. His kidneys repurpose into a glue gland. His coloration repurposes into advertising. Multiple females may lay eggs inside his nest. He fertilizes each clutch and guards them all. And for the next 7 to 14 days, he fans fresh, oxygenated water through the tunnel with his pectoral fins, repels intruders, and corrals hatched fry until they can swim. The protein is called spigin because biologists ran out of dignified names somewhere around the 3rd decade of fish kidney research. Freshwater eggs are vulnerable to oxygen drops and infection. So, by turning the entire male body into nest, ventilator, and bouncer, sticklebacks evolved a hatching success rate that scales with the dad's fitness. The bright red mating coloration is exactly what advertises that fitness. He runs the daycare, the security, the air system, and the IT desk on a stomach the size of a lintel. His kidneys glue the nest. His pectoral fins fan the oxygen. His eyes never leave the eggs. That's a one-fish maternity ward, with him as the entire staff. The Greater Rhea. Most viewers have heard of solo dadhood by now. This species takes that idea, scales it up by an order of magnitude, and adds a polyandrous twist. He builds a single shallow nest. Different females visit, they each lay, they leave. He stays. The male incubates a mixed clutch that can exceed 50 eggs, contributed by anywhere from 2 to 12 different mothers, for about 40 days. Then he raises the chicks alone for 6 months. During incubation, he eats sparingly, defends the nest aggressively, and almost never leaves. Evolution invented single dad daycare and forgot to tell the dad it was unusual. A female Rhea's offspring count is bottlenecked by how fast she can lay, not by her ability to incubate. So by offloading incubation onto polyandrous males, the species multiplies its reproductive output, and the males who can hold a nest get all the genes. It's not reproductive chaos. The common version of this is wrong. It's an evolved cooperative system, tuned for the pampas, where the male's full-time job is the nursery, and the female's is the next clutch. 1 dad, 12 mothers, 50 eggs, 6 months of solo daycare. The math only works because evolution rewrote the family tree. Picture a 6-foot ostrich cousin running across the pampas with 20 fluffy striped chicks streaming behind him. 12 moms, 50 eggs, 1 dad. Did he choose this, or did evolution sign him up? Darwin's frog. Of every parental adaptation on this list, this one is the strangest ever observed in a vertebrate. There is no other animal on Earth that does what this frog does. For weeks after the eggs are laid, dad just stands guard. Then the embryos start to twitch, and he opens his mouth. He watches a clutch of 5 to 8 eggs on the forest floor for 3 to 4 weeks. When the embryos begin to move, he ingests the eggs and holds them in his vocal sac. They hatch inside the sac. The tadpoles develop there, fed by remaining yolk and secretions from the sac wall. Total brooding inside the vocal sac runs 50 to 70 days, until the tadpoles complete metamorphosis and emerge from his mouth as fully formed froglets. Scientists watched this for decades before they figured out he wasn't eating his own kids. He's about the length of a thumb, and up to 8 tadpoles, each about a quarter the size of his head, are swimming inside his throat for 2 months. He sings around them. Despite the name mouth-brooding frog, the eggs aren't food. They're tenants, and the rent is 2 months of his vocal sac. Most amphibian dads in cold, wet rainforest environments move toward extreme parental investment, and Darwin's frog represents the absolute end of that gradient. Full internal protection inside an organ that didn't evolve for it. Every parent has felt their kids living in their head, only this one means it literally. The bill came due. Calories, time, voice, breath, the use of his own throat. He paid it in full, with the only thing he had. He doesn't carry them, he becomes them. I post new animal deep dives every week. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.